friends, welcome to another interview of National Update on Clinical Diabetes NUCD 2021. Today with us, one of the most reputed diet expert, a researcher and a popularizer of dietetic science, Mrs. Dharini Krishnan. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
She has been working in this field for last more than 30 years. There is a PhD to her credit and a PhD on a very typical subject, diet counseling in diabetes. That is her research area. She has her own YouTube channel where she Dharini Krishnan's Easy Diet, and there are so many things from pizza to many things you can get from that. Diet, as we all understand, is not the right thing. People want food. When food is not available, people go for diet. There the science comes. The art of food becomes technically modified as diet. And many diseases are there, lifestyle disorders like diabetes, where diet plays an important role. We have crossed many parameters, many milestones in diet, from starvation diet to till today, and if new evidences are coming up, and that changes our concept and conceptualization on diet. Today, we have with her our expert who is there, Mrs. Dharini Krishnan. Ma'am, as doctors, we have been conditioned to prescribe the age-old diet pattern of 60% carbs, 20% protein, and 20% fat. Is this still the correct recommendation in 2021 for our diabetics? Broadly speaking, what is the ideal macronutrient pyramid for diabetics and pre-diabetics?
Yeah, see, if you see the breakup of macronutrients, it's still very similar because reaching even 20% of protein is very difficult. The current ICMR EAR has come, estimated average requirement, where they have set 0.6 to 1 because reaching 1 gram per kg ideal body weight is quite difficult, isn't it? If somebody is 60 kilos and we want them to eat 60 grams of protein, even that is becoming difficult. So they are saying anything from 36 to 40 grams if they can achieve and make that digestible, then that is very good. So in this scenario, what we need to do is to change the type of carbs that we take. Currently, if you see the rice or the rice eating states of India, or the wheat eating states of India, most of the wheat is purchased in the supermarkets and mostly it is processed wheat, which is already being powdered, where they can remove the fiber because the amount of time that wheat stays is less, right? Similarly, the whiter the rice, the more the price and more people are using it, which is not good. So recent studies have shown in 26 countries that more rice eating could be a cause towards leading to diabetes. So with all these parameters, we need to tweak. Even if we take 60% of carbs, we have to have at least 50 to 60%, if not 100%, from either semi-polished or non-polished, that is red rice or semi-polished rice for the rice eaters, and non-maida products, and atta, the regular atta, buy it, the full grain and grind it yourself and use it without sifting. And using of millets, because most of the millets are also processed. So use the old type of millets like bajra or ragi, which come with the fiber, and use it rightly. Don't make a porridge and drink it. Instead, use it with protein and make products which are healthier and eat it. And if you use that kind of carbohydrates in 60%, it will not be a problem. We can very well manage diabetes with this kind. And the fiber, which is coming, the complex carbohydrate coming from vegetables and fruits also should be added to the thing.
So that's very correct. And in our Indian scenario, carbohydrate plays an important role because of economic problems and other things. As you know, for a long time now, we have been made to see fats as a negative factor. And cardiac problem, this problem, that problem, everybody says don't take fat. And there is some merit in that also. We believe that yes, such statement has some merit. But of late, we have also seen a rise in this concept of healthy fats. Can you explain to us what are healthy fats?
See, basically, if you take fats, all of us know there are three basic types. That is the breakup of fats, the saturated, the monounsaturated, and the polyunsaturated. We know that more of monounsaturated fats is good for health and for preventing cardiac disease. If you take our traditional oils, they are very good because they have all three types of fats. And in the north, we use mustard oil. In the south, we use sesame or gingerly oil or till oil or coconut oil, or we use groundnut oil or moongfali oil. So these are the basic traditional way of oils that we have used. And this goes very well with the type of cooking we do, the type of utensils we use, the tadka, and so on, right? Though there are enough studies, even 2-3 days ago, there was a huge report to say that amongst 40 different types of diet, the Mediterranean diet comes as the best one, right? And there, if you take Europeans, it is olive oil. One thing is, olive oil is not made in our country. We cannot make it because we do not have the temperature for that, right? So it is imported, so it's expensive. Second is, it is not meant for cooking because the kind of high heat we use for tadka, the olive oil, the melting point is very low. So we cannot use it. They only drizzle that oil over whatever they eat. It could be a pita bread, or it could be a salad, or it could be, wheat noodles, which you have finished, made it, and you're ready with it, and you can dribble an oil on that. There you can use it. But otherwise, it is better to use our types of oil because they are good. The breakup of fats also are very heart friendly. The quantities are the problem. We say 15 to 20 ml per person per day, which will come to 450 to 500 ml per person per month. But that is not the scene that is happening. In our dietary surveys, we find that they are actually using more than a liter per person per month. And they are not adding the packeted foods that they are bringing in, which is fried, or the junk food, which has the trans fats, and so on. So that is why we need to use little oil, use it at home, don't use too much of fried stuff, and then you are very safe to use our traditional oils.
Very nice and very correct. Many of new diets, they recommend healthy fats, but it is beyond the reach of lower income and even middle income group. Healthy fats that we recommend, ordinary fat, everybody is getting. Most of our common people are using palm oil also, which is cheap but not that good. But can you recommend some low PUFA fats that can be given to our common people?
See, just
Can
eating
there
a
be
little peanuts or seeds, like sunflower seeds, something which is available to them, like even till seeds, right, is very good. But what we are looking at is, in a way, because all the research or most of the research on the diet is being done in the Western countries. So because of that, we tend to cut and paste. So what happens? We talk about avocado, we talk about almonds, walnuts, But this is available only to a small percentage of the Indian population. It cannot be available largely to most of us, right? So we should be able to use our seeds, whatever is available, either the Moongfali seed, or that is basically Moongfali, or the sunflower seeds, or the til seeds in small quantities, like a til laddu. If you make it without jaggery, instead of that, you can add something else, a diabetic can take it. You can even add a little bit of salt and make a powder, which can be used in anything. As you know, just add with your upma or whatever you want, whatever your side dish that you're eating it. If the rice eaters, they can even add it to their semi-polished or red rice and use it as a, add-on. So like this, we can add the local seeds, whatever is available. Because our country is so different. Every state is different. What we grow in each state is different. What the people are used to eating is different. So we need to do that. And then it's fine. It's not necessary to go for the very healthy fats, which are very expensive. That is not needed. Like in Kerala, they use coconut oil, which has become, before it was a bad thing, today it's a good thing. So like that. But we cannot overuse it. No? Fat is fat. We'll stick to 20%, which is good, because we are the cardiac capital of the world. We also have to remember that, right? So if we continue like that, and if you reduce our fried foods, well, even made at home, make it rarely, because it has become fish is equal to fried. Like that it has become. Sunday means only fried foods. This kind of culture is leading to a lot of trouble. So we need to reduce the frying part, reduce the total oil part, and go for local foods, local seeds. It's not a problem.
Right. So as a religious habit, many of us do fasting. Ramadan is also another example of intermittent fasting. So how do you see the role of intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting in diabetes treatment? Fasting can reduce the abundance of insulin in the system and maybe even repair insulin resistance. But it can also trigger hypoglycemia in some patients. So is it right to recommend fasting to diabetics? And if so, what should be a doctor keep in mind while making this recommendation to a diabetic?
Yeah. See, intermittent fasting is a very recent thing. Fasting has been in our country always. But I need to tell you, whether it's Ramadan or whether it is Lent or whether it is Navratri, whichever way, whichever religion we look at, fasting is related to feasting today. Right? It is 40 days of fasting, but they're all looking at the feast after the break of the fast, in whichever religion. So this is not the right thing to do, right? Fasting those days was done. After that, they would start with something very simple, plain juice, or they would start with plain warm water and then move to a little semi-solid food. Then they will go. Not this way where there's a dish of 40 different things. I have so many of my patients who during these seasons put on weight and go out of control in their sugars because they think that they need to eat a lot, right? This is not the way fasting should be done. That's the first thing. Second, it's not one fit for all, right? If somebody has acidity, if somebody is pregnant, if it's a lady who's lactating, or if it's somebody with huge ulcers, these are not people who should be fasting at all, right? Next is hypoglycemia. So in diabetes, you can have the risk of going into hypoglycemia. The doctor, the dietitian, and the patient have to work together. But do we have that kind of a system where we can be with our patients all the time? This is difficult because we have so many people, isn't it? Is it possible that a dietitian or a doctor and a patient can work together on a daily basis to update on the medicine for the hypoglycemia, if the sugars fall, if they are able to wear a CGM, or if they are able to, at least initially for the first 10 days, take their sugars regularly to check whether they are going into hypoglycemia. There are many questions here. And this is a new thing. We have to wait for research to answer our questions. But the message is that if you do not go into hypos, if you are only on oral hypoglycemic drugs, and if you are not acidic, if you don't get acidity, if you have the mental ability to hold on, because there are some people who say that the normal thing is 16 hours of fast and 8 hours of eating. In that 8 hours, you can eat what you can. That is not true. In the 8 hours, you have to fit in 2 major meals, 1 snack, and in that, we have to match the RDA or the recommended calories they require with the protein, with the fiber, and with all the nutrients. It's not an easy task because they would just be like, let's take an example. Suppose they break their fast at 8 a.m. That means within 8 hours, which means by 4 p.m. they have to stop, which means before 4 p.m. they should have had their breakfast, lunch, and their last snack, and that's it. You cannot eat every hour of that 8 hours, right? Then you're not helping yourself at all. So you need to be careful. You need to work, and we need to wait for more research before we roll this out as a treatment for diabetes, because we could face a lot of roadblocks, but the initial research is showing good things. Very small researches done in pockets with small numbers at small times, like 1 month, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, like that, or 3 months, like that, is showing good results. Those who are heavyweight, they are able to lose their weight, which is good, but they should lose their weight from fat. They should not lose their muscle. That is not good at all. That means they're not eating enough protein, and that is not good. And with the pandemic still around, it is catastrophe to actually lose your protein from your body. So this you have to be careful. Second is you need to take enough vegetables and fruits so that you don't go into constipation. This is the second very important thing. And third is you need to fit your calories within those 8 hours, but only in 3 meals. So this is very, very important, because if you eat every hour of the 8 hours, it is not going to help you in any way, because your insulin resistance can go up. So intermittent fasting, to sum up, is something that is coming up. It needs to be focused. We need a lot more research in the area, but we have to make clear that fasting is not going to be after that feasting. Definite no.
Yes,
and we have to be.
Yes, ma'am. I have my last question. We have the shortage of time. The question is, suppose a kidney failure patient in type 2 diabetes, we tell him, don't take this, don't take that, don't take that. Many restrictions are there. Is there any diet that can physiologically and anatomically repair the damage of a diabetic nephropathy, or for that matter, any other disease? You have 1 minute to answer.
Okay, sure. See, the thing is, to repair the kidney is very difficult, but in the early stage, if we give the right diet, according to what they are eating, again, it's not a one fit for all, but if they're eating too much protein, we can reduce a bit. But if they're taking too less protein, we can give them the right type of protein. But in my personal cases, which many people may not agree, I've done more than 25-30 patients where we have done integrated medicine and done a ginger treatment, which is very, very focused and only external. If this is done, the creatinine actually falls and they are able to, prolong the damage occurred to the biological system. But how much research we need to do here? We need to do it. I'm not just saying that, you can give it to everybody, but it is showing very good results.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. It has been nice talking to you on different aspects of basic aspects of diet. And we are going to close this. We are looking forward to meeting you some other time. Thank you very much on behalf of NUCD 2021.
Thank you for the opportunity.